Hello everyone, hope you all are well and staying safe. Welcome to Grant Thornton Bharat's knowledge podcast on special purpose acquisition companies or SPACs. We have been actively talking about overseas listing of Indian companies and its various facets including regulatory requirements, corporate governance, timelines and success stories among others. Many market analysts are declaring 2021 as the year of the SPAC. But first, we need to know what is a SPAC and how does it work? Why would a company choose to go public through SPAC and what could be the risks involved in it? Without much ado, let us meet our expert who will delve deeper into the topic. Raja Lahiri is Partner Growth Advisory and Technology Sector Leader and leads our overseas listing practice at Grant Thornton Bharat. He has led the transaction advisory practice, private equity, and venture capital initiatives for the firm and is also a part of the Global Technology Steering Committee group for the Grant Thornton International. Welcome, Raja.
Thank you, Sneha. Very excited to be part of this podcast.
So, Raja, as you would agree, leading media outlets around the world have been talking about SPACs as these alone raised $83 billion in 248 IPO listings in 2020. Let us just begin by simply explaining SPACs for our listeners.
Absolutely. So before I kind of give you a perspective on SPACs, I just give you some data points in terms of the rise of SPACs. Well, according to the data compiled by NASDAQ, there were 34 SPACs in 2017, 46 in 2018, 59 in 2019, and we jumped to 248 in 2020. In fact, in 2020, the number of SPACs contributed to 50% of all the IPOs that happened in the US markets. In 2021, one is expected to see as many as 100 new SPACs coming to the market every month. So you can imagine the kind of tremendous rise of SPACs that's happening today. Coming to the basic concepts of SPAC. SPAC, as in a special purpose acquisition company, is fundamentally a shell company with no business operations. What's the purpose? The purpose is to raise capital through an IPO route. And fundamentally, that capital is required to deploy to make acquisitions. SPAC popularly is also known as a blank check company. Now, once a SPAC is publicly listed, the funds that the SPAC raises remains in a trust while the SPAC keeps looking for acquisition targets, usually private companies. Management of the SPAC generally has a defined time period, typically around 18 to 24 months to identify a target company. And once the SPAC identifies these acquisition targets and completes the deal, the SPAC fundamentally doesn't exist anymore. And the newly combined company starts trading under a new ticker symbol in the exchange. Now, the point is, what happens if the SPAC is unable to make an acquisition, right? In that event, if they're not able to make an acquisition in, let's say, during the defined time period, then the trust or the SPAC gets dissolved and all the investment money that was collected fundamentally needs to get returned back to the investors. But another interesting aspect of a SPAC is that most SPACs, after it makes an acquisition, is required to raise additional funds because these additional funds are required to fund the growth plans of the companies it is acquiring. And this additional raising of capital is fundamentally called a PIPE transaction, which is a private investment in a public entity. Are you with me so far, Sneha?
Yes. So, as an investor, I put my money in a SPAC without really knowing how it will be used.
Precisely. And that's the reason SPACs are also known as blank check companies, because fundamentally what you're doing is you're placing your trust, as in the investors are placing one's trust in a founder management team, but of course, who has solid domain expertise, experience in M&A transactions and running public companies and created past value for investors. Well, what one needs to understand also that the investors do have the right to vote for and against the acquisition targets. And in the event the investors, for whatever manner or matter, they don't like the acquisitions targets, they can actually redeem their investments.
I'm sure there would have to be certain, benefits as well as risks of a SPAC as a channel or route for overseas listing.
Well, let us look at the benefits first of a SPAC. A SPAC transaction, the first important benefit is the speed. It can be completed in a few months. So clearly, much more quickly than a traditional IPO, which can take from 1 year to 2 years to complete. And because of the speed, it is able to really navigate the exposure to significant market fluctuations. So quickness of time is a huge factor here. The other aspect, since SPAC is basically a shell company, the required financial disclosures are far easier than those of a full-fledged IPO. Now, coming down to risks, I think the risks are clearly around the ability of the SPAC to complete the acquisitions within the time period, which I mentioned was 18 to 24 months, and also the risk that the investors may not vote in favor of the acquisitions. Well, Grant Thornton research indicates that 31% of companies reported material weakness in financial controls and reporting after 1 year post-SPAC listing. This is compared to 20% in case of other public companies, according to MarketWatch. So very clearly, the financial governance and the reporting could be some of the areas to watch out for in case one is looking for a SPAC listing.
Correct. What are the opportunities for Indian corporates in tapping into overseas listing through SPACs? As in, how should they prepare themselves for SPAC listing?
That's a great question. I think it's clearly a massive opportunity for Indian corporates to look at SPAC listing as a viable alternative to overseas listings. Well, everybody knows that in earlier part of this year, in 2021, Renew Power got merged into a US SPAC, which marks the largest SPAC deal from India. SPAC structures, by the way, are not new to India. In the past, there have been Indian companies who've gone for SPAC listing. Examples are Videocon and Yatra. But what means today is the kind of capital that has been raised in the US capital markets is quite significant. And all these capital that is being raised will be used to look at acquisition targets. So you can imagine the kind of opportunities for Indian companies to really participate in this opportunity. An Indian corporate, before it really approaches a SPAC listings, it needs to consider very carefully some factors, before it kind of really goes for a full-fledged SPAC listing. Well, I can give you some pointers, and hopefully that'll be handy for corporates to look at. I guess the first one is really about capital raise planning, looking at how much capital one needs to raise, both primary and secondary. So capital planning is the first. Second is clearly about the valuations, what sort of valuations one can expect in the US capital markets, very clearly in sectors like renewable, tech, deep tech, etc. The valuation multiples are clearly higher in the US capital market. So valuation is the second. Third is early engagement with stakeholders. One's shareholders, investors, private equity and VC investors, employees. It's very important because a public company is absolutely very different from a private company. The fourth is one needs to select and evaluate various firms. For example, appointing the right investment bankers, accounting firm, legal firms, the investor relations firm, branding, etc. I guess the most important aspect here, the fifth point, is really the identification of the SPAC to be merged with. Because you really would be merging with the SPAC in the US, which means the quality of the sponsor and the SPAC is very critical here, because that determines your journey after the listing. The sixth point I would say is vendor due diligence, really covering due diligence by an independent firm on all the aspects of the business, whether it is on the financial side, accounting side, tax, legal, financial controls, and commercials. Finally, it's really about financial reporting, because under the SPAC regime, you got to report your financial under US GAAP. So hence, one needs to initiate the process of preparing the financials under US GAAP, and that takes time. So clearly, preparation is the key.
I'm sure, Raja, there would be some areas of concerns also for Indian corporates that they will have to consider before they list.
Absolutely. I think definitely there are areas that one needs to consider. In my view, clearly the classical question is whether one should remain private or one should go public. Going public clearly in an overseas capital market brings in tremendous advantages, right? Whether in terms of valuation, branding, and really to participate in a global scale. But mind you, that it also comes with tremendous responsibilities and onerous liabilities for the management team, for the board of directors. So hence, all of that needs to be first answered. Am I ready to go public? The next point, which is important, is the tax and the regulatory angle to this. And the tax and the regulatory angles got to be very carefully analyzed. See what is happening for an Indian company. An Indian company is fundamentally merging with a SPAC, right, which is typically US domiciled. And that is nothing but a reverse merger. You're fundamentally merging with the SPAC, which can be considered as an outbound merger from a Indian regulation perspective. Now, what happens that outbound mergers are not always tax neutral, both at the Indian target company level and at the target shareholder level. And hence, there can be associated tax costs, capital gains, for example, and all of these tax costs needs to be compared to the benefits. And that cost versus benefit analysis becomes very critical when one needs to look at SPAC listing. I think the second point that becomes critical is the compliances around the Foreign Exchange Regulations Act and the Reserve Bank of India rules. Because if one is a resident shareholder, some of these rules come in. And of course, if it's a non-resident shareholder, clearly the ease of listing becomes far more easier, I would say. See, finally, in my view, the key for success is the robustness and the soundness of the business model and the future growth potential of the company. And that's the key for sustaining valuations at the US capital markets. Our Grant Thornton Indian and global team of overseas listing and SPAC experts are there to evaluate, plan, prepare, and execute this listing process. To sum it up, I would say, be quick to seize this opportunity, but don't be in a hurry. Listing, at the end of the day, is a journey and not a destination.
Thank you, Raja, for sharing these insights. That will be all from our special knowledge sharing podcast. Stay tuned for part 2 of SPACs on optimal structure.